Okay. Thanks, folks, for being here for the preliminary meeting of the Bylaw Review Committee. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 3 o'clock on October 12th, 2023. And can we have a roll call starting with anybody on Zoom first?
Bill Cadigan is here.
Hi, Bill.
All right. So it looks like it's only Bill online. Oh,
Maureen Galevi's here.
all right. Thank you, Maureen. Okay, I don't think that's everybody on Zoom. I'm going to go around the table.
Beth Baxton, Land Use Director, Administrator.
I'm Natalie Call, VSL.
Robert Therian.
And I am Eric Slagle. I'm here for the first meeting, and we'll see what the board does after this, or the committee does after this. All right, so that actually gives us a quorum of the committee, so we can actually have a meeting and act. So that's excellent. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I want to announce that the meeting is being recorded and uploaded. It will be uploaded to YouTube once the recording is done. We also have Zoom presence for convenience of folks. Chairman's additions or deletions. I don't believe we have any additions or deletions to this.
Excuse me, Eric.
Yes,
Michael Brown would like to enter. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
There it is.
All right.
Okay.
So I see Michael is here. Michael, thank you for coming. We were just doing just finished up roll call, so I'll note for the record that Michael Brown is here as well.
Thank you. I may not stay too long, but timing worked out okay, so glad I could join.
Great, thanks, Mike. So again, 1.3 chairman's additions or deletions. We don't have any additions or deletions. And then we would be moving on to meeting business. So we do have, with 6 out of the 9 folks that were appointed to the bylaw committee present, we have a quorum, and we are able to do an organization of the committee. So the question is, does anybody have any comments or motions they'd like to make about about a potential organization of the bylaw committee?
I'll make some.
Knock yourself out.
Well, I think this is my name is Robert Therian. I'm on the planning board. I'm also an architect. I've been involved with a lot of regulatory procedures from a lot of towns. I'm familiar with a lot of zoning bylaws. And so I'm here to provide some oversight into what I've experienced and what other communities are doing. I think this is an incredible opportunity. Some of the things that we've witnessed on the planning board and some of the comments I've had from the building department, we most certainly have to address a lot of issues with our bylaw. In reviewing the bylaw as I know it now, it's pretty archaic. It hasn't been attended to for many, many years. Things have changed. The responsibility of this committee to plan a bylaw that's functional, practical, realistic, addresses every concern that we can consider, and to make the people in our departments have an efficient tool to operate from, and to provide some more supportive guidance for the zoning board and the planning board. So this is an incredible opportunity. The bylaw is an enormous document. So it's an incredible undertaking to redo it. So I think the practical approach is to let's address the priority problems we have now, and do what we can to at least improve what we have and deal with it as we progress. And some of these things I'd like to hopefully get advanced in such a manner that we can get some of these adopted at an earlier town meeting as possible, to help, like particularly the building department. I do know on the planning board, we've reviewed some of these things and have a concept of how to address those bylaw changes on a few particular topics. But there are other topics that have to be addressed too. So I thank everybody that's here for participating in this very challenging project. But it's so necessary. And so anyway, those are my comments, Eric.
Sure, and just to not to pile on, but it's important to know this isn't just about the zoning bylaw. It's actually about the general bylaws too. So,
oh boy.
so the bylaw review committee has a lot on its plate. So I think it is I guess I'll throw out the question more specifically. I guess we need to have a vote for a chair and a vice chair. That's, I think, to start off the excitement. We need to have someone voted in to be able to run the meetings and set the agendas. So does anybody have any thoughts or motions regarding having a chair or a vice chair or both?
Well, I'd like to nominate Bill Cadigan as chair of the bylaw committee.
Sorry, Bill. But so we have a motion to
Are you serious?
to appoint Bill Cadigan as the chair of the bylaw committee?
I second the motion.
No, we have a motion and a second.
Are there any other candidates?
No.
Well,
No.
we'll open that for discussion. I kind of hear what Beth said, which is Bill has experience running meetings and chairing this sort of stuff for the ZBA, so that's a plus.
Many years.
Well, I was on the team that wrote the current bylaw, so you know.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
You have you to blame for it.
I know the bylaw pretty well.
Mhm.
Good.
Absolutely.
Any other comments on the motion? Okay, well, given that we're on Zoom, I will take a roll call vote, starting with folks on Zoom, on the motion to appoint Bill as the chair of the bylaw review committee. Mike?
It sounds like he's on Mars.
Yeah.
We lost you there, Mike.
Did you hear me?
No, we lost it.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
okay.
Audio.
Yes.
Maureen. Yeah. How will you vote, Maureen?
I
Hi.
don't know, what am I supposed to say? Yes, no?
Yes or no? We're voting to make Bill,
One or the
put
other.
Bill in charge. That's
I say yes.
okay. Bill?
Do I have to vote?
You do,
I'll say-
you could.
I'll say yes.
Robert?
Robert Therin, yes.
Beth Batson, yes.
Natalie Colley, yes.
Okay, well, so we have a chair.
A unanimous vote, wow.
I don't know, that's probably the only
You're
one of this
on.
whole process. So,
Right.
all right, so Bill Gadigan is voted as the chair of the Bylaw Review Committee by a
Landslide.
yeah, by a landslide.
Landslide.
Yes, by a landslide. 6-0 vote. So Bill, that means you get to take over. I can stop talking.
So we need a motion for a vice chair.
Yeah, I'll make a motion for, to appoint Robert Therian as vice chair of the Bylaw Committee.
I second the motion.
Okay.
All right. Polling the members, Michael,
Yes.
Maureen. Is it Maureen?
Yes, yes,
I'll vote yes. And
Go ahead, sorry. Beth Batson, yes.
Natalie Colley, yes.
Robert Therin, okay. Okay.
all right,
Iron
Okay.
landslide.
Okay.
awesome. Yeah, I guess the trick is how to as Robert said, there's a lot of immediate needs that we probably should tackle first. And I have no idea how we should prioritize those. That's all. The last thing we did was the dog grooming issue. And I was amazed that we got that through because, we had some opposition at the town meeting, but we managed to get that one through. So, but I mean, when we did this bylaw, we hired a consultant from the Cape, which of course is the zoning proving ground of Massachusetts. So we had the right kind of guy, and we had June Riddle was our town council, and she was very good too. So we were able to do. I think we did an open space plan too at the same time. I don't know, but we were able to get. And the trick was, of course, trying to anticipate all the gotchas. Whenever you write a bylaw, you have unintended consequences, and trying to anticipate those is a good trick. And the more advice you can get, the better off you be. But even then, it's just not a perfect science. You're going to miss something. I mean, we had some classic ones. I can't even remember what they were, but we had a lot of problem with the accessory apartment bylaw.
Still do.
It was originally the structure had to be built before 1990 or something like that, and it turned out there were very few situations in town that could qualify, and the whole point of the accessory apartment was try to make some of the illegal apartments in town legal. So
Right.
that was the idea.
So if I might, Bill, I have a couple of potential suggestions to start with.
Yeah.
The first thing that I think that the Bylaw Review Committee should do is send out a request to department heads to if they have any potential changes or concerns about either general bylaws or the zoning bylaw that have come up in their day-to-day operation of the town, to have them submit those in writing to the Bylaw Committee for review. Because I think if we reach out to the people who are using it every day, we're likely to get at least the sore spots. Even if they don't have answers, even if they say this is just a problem and we don't know how to fix it, at least they can get it in front of the Bylaw Review Committee.
Yep. No, it sounds good.
I think that would be a good first step. I think and maybe set up a next meeting and ask for the department heads to have something to the bylaw review committee a week before the date of the next meeting. That way we could get it out to all the committee members. People could think about what those specific bylaw issues are and potentially creative ways to look at them and change them. If there are, we can also ask the Board of Selectmen to speak at the town meeting. We're having a town meeting in November. To ask folks if they have concerns about any one or more bylaws in town, that they should send them into the town administrator's office and we can forward them to the bylaw review committee. And if what that allows us to do is address the things that people are identifying as sore spots, that's probably a good place to start and may take up a lot of the time that the committee has to do work, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
As opposed to try to start, like, we could just get a copy of the bylaw and go through it line by line, but it might be more efficient to let the people who work with every day see if they have any concerns and bring them forward to us, if that makes sense to the committee.
Yeah. No, it's a good way to get our existence out to the population as well.
Yes, I agree.
So, nothing like a hot button to get people organized.
Sure, right.
I'd like to present a couple of things that I've observed here. One, we have the current zoning bylaw has enforcement requirements, but we don't have any way to enforce them. A lot of bylaws have penalties and all kinds of things tied to them, but we never can enforce them. And so I don't know why. And we need to find out so that.
I thought there was a generic enforcement provision in the zoning bylaw.
The zoning bylaw does have fines and penalties.
Yeah.
Building commissioner,
Huh?
Yeah, so the building commissioner is the enforcement agent and the fines and penalties are there.
But there's no actual enforcement.
Ah, that's different.
Yeah.
That's not a bylaw fix, that's a building commissioner fix.
According to, and again, this is a result of conversations. I haven't purged into facts on things, but accordingly, they have no legal mechanism to enforce them.
Well, I mean,
Beyond the bylaw. In other words, I don't know if we need our town council to review that so that when there is a complaint that needs to be enforced, that we can actually execute on it.
well, the only person, I mean, not to get too into the details, but the only person in town who's ever gonna have that legal authority is the building commissioner. That's statutory. So
how does he do it? Does he have the tools to do it?
it's yes, I mean, there's fines, you could levy fines and penalties in the bylaw, but it's all discretionary.
I'm not concerned about the discretionary
Sure.
unit here.
Yeah.
Based on what I understand, the building officials know they have that authority. The building officials have implemented those fines, but there's no way to compel them. That's the issue. All right. It's not that they don't have the control and the power, they do, and they've tried to act on it, but it doesn't go anywhere. All
Right. Well, I mean, not to get too far afield, because that's more of the enforcement piece is more extra bylaw, but I think that in a town like Townsend where we don't have in-house counsel, the only way to do enforcement is to pay our attorneys to go and sue somebody.
Well,
One of the things I'm going to be bringing to our state delegation is a request for special legislation to allow us to like other cities and towns have done, to take fines and roll them directly onto the tax bill.
Right,
But that's something that we have to do through the state legislature.
Right,
We
so
can't just
in
do that
other
via the
words-
bylaw.
we acknowledge there's a fine, we try to enforce the fine, but there's no way to compel the
Right.
violator.
Yeah,
Other than-
the only board that can compel is the Board of Health, because they can condemn your house. If you're not paying your fines, you know, they could get you out on the street. So it's a pretty powerful board.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's on Board of Health related topics.
Well, you know, unless we could,
Zoning topics.
maybe we could expand their purview to enforcing the zoning bylaw.
I think the building commissioner, if there's a health and safety violation,
That goes to the building department as well.
the building commissioner can also condemn a property under the building code,
Exactly.
but not for zoning purposes.
Yeah.
Unless there's a health and safety issue underlying the zoning issue. So if somebody built something in a setback, that's not a public safety issue.
Right.
You can't condemn a property because of that. You can
Yeah.
refuse to issue an occupancy,
Mm.
which means they're occupying it illegally. But again, that sort of level of enforcement is always going to come down to going to court. Unfortunately, I wish there was a different way, but you know, if people just ignore you, you're going to have to go to court.
I have a little bit of a comment. As some of you know, I've had a big interest in the outdoor lighting bylaw. I was one of the authors of that 25 years ago. And from time to time over the last 25 years, I've gone to the building commissioner with concerns, and this happened recently. I know, Eric, you know some of the stuff that went on. And the current building commissioner, just flat out had no interest in enforcing it for various reasons. I don't necessarily even know the reasons.
That's the former building commissioner.
The former one, right. The former building commissioner. But the former building commissioner before that, I had every now and then gone to, such and such a place. I noticed a light that didn't conform to the bylaw, and it got enforced. Now, of course, I think that ultimately, if it really comes down to a confrontation and somebody doesn't want to comply, then you get into the problem of, right. I mean, you have the only way you could really enforce it is to maybe sue the business or the person. But in practice, if you have a building commissioner who actually wants to enforce it and is willing to talk to, say, a business owner, 3 out of 4 times there'll be some improvement. Maybe that's not perfect, but I don't think it's necessarily a huge problem if everybody agrees that this is something we care about and worth doing. If you go to somebody and say, "Hey," very often they didn't even know there was regulation about that, or they weren't aware that there was a problem. It's like educate them, and but anyway, that's just what I wanted to point out.
Sure. No, I agree.
Thank you, Michael.
So if the committee is comfortable with the plan about reaching out to department heads, I will do that and make that request on behalf of the committee to get their sticking points in both the general and the zoning bylaws. And I'll ask the Board of Selectmen at the meeting next Tuesday if they'd be willing to, make a statement about that sort of thing at the town meeting. And we can put a request on the website basically to, if you, any concerns about the bylaw review committee is in the process of looking at the bylaws. If you have any specific concerns, please let the town administrator's office know. And that way we could get us at least some meat to start chewing on at the next meeting, if that makes sense.
Yep, that's great.
So do we need a motion for that?
I don't think we need a motion for that. I would leave it up to the chair, but I think,
All right.
Consensus.
I think
but,
that's
yeah, if the board, nobody's saying no, so I'm just gonna do
Sounds like a great idea, I'd say.
it. Thanks, Mike. There we go.
Yeah, well, I'm interested about the general bylaw being part of this, because there's a few things we could do with that are sadly lacking, like a noise ordinance would be really good, and I'd like to have an ordinance about private shooting ranges, We have some guy who sounds like he thinks he's in Ukraine near us. You know, I wish he'd go over there because they could use all the help they could get, you know, especially with all the ammunition the guy is wasting.
Well, if the committee's interested, I could certainly have somebody pull a couple of noise ordinances from surrounding towns and just bring them to the next meeting for the committee to take a look at.
Right. A couple of topics that I've run into from the building department was they're having trouble with chickens and complaints on chickens. And that obviously needs to be reviewed. And there's a conflict here between are we a farm community or not a farm community?
We're a right to farm community.
Right. So, the general consensus is, and I think it's an easy remedy, would to require, I mean, there's a lot of stuff about, you know, open range chickens versus caged chickens. So it seems to me the remedy is that every owner has the right to have free range chickens or not, provided they were contained on their property. And so these open range chickens are going on other people's property, and it's creating a problem. And the building department's getting complaints on it. And so if we can change that ordinance to require that people's animals have to be confined to their own real estate, I think that will resolve it, and it might even resolve beyond chickens.
I have a dog that could resolve trespassing chickens.
Well, it's common consensus, if you have a cow and it goes out, gets out of your property, goes on a lot, you're gonna go and retrieve your cow. So I don't even know why this has such a concern, but it obviously is something that frequently occurs in the building department. And so if that complaint comes, they could get forward to the police department and drive up there and tell them what they have to do.
Well, so, but before we dig too deep, I want to say, maybe the other thing we ought to do is each member of the committee ought to have a list that we can forward to Bill.
Right.
So rather than, not that I want to shut you down, Robert,
No.
but a list that we forward to Bill so that everybody can take, and Bill can put those in a master list that says, hey, these are all the concerns that the individual members have as well. That way everybody can get a chance to look at the sections that we're talking about before a meeting so that we are all on the same page. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
And so I believe that we have everybody's email address. We can just ask folks to email their things direct. We don't want to violate the open meeting law, so don't email everybody. But if you have a list of things that you think after looking at a bylaw need tweaking or are problematic, maybe we can just send them to Bill, and Bill can put that on the agenda for the next meeting. And that could be a topic that the people could discuss along with the issues that the department heads.
Yeah, if we introduce a list like that at a meeting, it doesn't violate the open meeting law. That covers us for that, or what?
Yeah, if people submit a list to you and then that list becomes part of the meeting, then it's not violating the open meeting law. Because it's only up for discussion once it's at the meeting.
Yeah. Well, I think the chickens are right up there with internal combustion engine repair. You know, that's a God-given right. And
yeah, we don't want to cross the chicken.
There's certain places you just don't want to go. You know. The sign bylaw is a good one. Oh, God. I've been trying to get somebody else to write a new sign bylaw for hundreds of years, so.
Yeah, that needs to get done. So if I could just throw out there, and I'm sorry, this the attorney in me is speaking out, that if people are gonna send things to Bill that have to do with with the current bylaw, please note the specific code section in the bylaw, so that if it gets forwarded as part of the agenda to other members, they can look it up themselves and read it. Don't just put, chickens, or don't just put shooting range. Think where I'm looking for this section of the bylaw, this is where I think the issue is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That way we all can look at it without having, to pull out the bylaws here.
If I could
Just
just
a
add.
practical thing. I don't know that I have everybody's email, or anybody's.
I will ask Sabrina to forward Bill's email to folks, and then
Yeah.
Bill can collect all the emails because he's the chair. That's why we vote.
And we also,
I mean, it's easy. It's just bill.cadigan@gmail.
You have to be careful because you don't want to.
I know, but
Can't be talking about it offline.
situations occur.
Chairman
where I need to
Cadigan, I
let
was
them
going to
know I'm not gonna
offer
be able to make it.
to
Sure.
provide a tutorial to the
I'll give
members
Bill's.
of just a 101 use of E-code, so that you can, learn how to take sections of the bylaw and put them into Word. And I think you can do that, right? The general public? I know
Oh,
we
yeah.
can as staff.
Oh yeah, anybody in the general, but we hit it the same way they do. We can.
Okay, so I'd be happy to provide that to the committee, just a general 101 tutorial on using E-code, if that's helpful.
That's probably a good idea for next meeting.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Can we, I'd like to discuss the meeting schedule.
I think that would be 2.3 on our agenda.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't bring my
No,
agenda.
there you go.
Maybe one more comment about the tasking of the committee. Chairman Cadigan, you mentioned earlier that the first time this was done, there was a hiring of a consultant. How important is that to this review, in your opinion?
Are you asking me?
Yes, you've done this before. You've done this before.
It's, I think it's pretty damn important, but it involves money. So, we'd have to get ourselves financed somehow, but. If I could remember this guy's name, he's an attorney now, but I don't know what he charges, but
It wasn't Mark. It wasn't Mark Bobrowski, was it?
no.
Fantastic.
God.
I mean,
That would be amazing.
with all due respect, Adam Costa, town council, used to work for Mark.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we have town council, but it's outside the purview of his regular duties. So it would be.
Right.
It would be the kind of thing that we'd have to pay town council extra to do. And you're right, it is a money issue. But maybe if we can hit the spots that we have, and then the committee can identify these are areas that are problematic that we need help with.
Yeah.
It might narrow the scope of what we're looking
Right,
for to such that
exactly.
we can maybe go to town meeting in the spring and say, we think these changes are things we can do now. We think we'd like to get some free cash money to hire a consultant to help us with these sections, and maybe that's an appropriate kind of plan of action.
Well, in particular, this DHCD requirement for as of right multifamily. I mean, I would want to write that one pretty carefully.
Yeah, so we actually we applied for DLTA money with MRPC and got a DLTA grant for MRPC to work with us on that. So they've been working on that for the last several months on that with us. So that portion of it is being looked at by professional planners under a grant that we got from the state.
Great.
Thank you.
Are we ready to talk about schedule?
Well, we need to pick one night of the week? Yeah, one weeknight.
Yeah.
to meet is afternoon working for everybody? I mean, works for
No,
me. I'm
it
retired.
doesn't work for me at all. And even the fact that we changed this meeting threw me into a tirade. Just
So-
trying to keep a
Unanticipated.
schedule.
Well,
So,
I mean, I have meetings Wednesday nights, but it's infrequent with the zoning board. It's not like the planning board where you have to meet.
Yeah, and for me, afternoons are better, but possibly Mondays between my regular staff hours and planning
Well-
board meetings.
I mean, in trying to make this work,
Mhm.
late afternoon are more practical for me to try to make.
Yeah.
Morning, absolutely no. Midday, absolutely no. And to have at least a preconceived time and day well in advance will help me be able to accommodate that better. My appointment schedule is crazy, so.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm pretty flexible generally. Lately I've been traveling a lot as I am now, but typically I'm fairly flexible. So.
okay. So does anybody have a druther? I started to hear Beth say something.
Well, I was thinking, personally, staff hours, are best for me. But every night that there's a planning board meeting, I'm here after the normal staff hours anyway. So, I mean, maybe 5:00 before planning board meetings, which start at 6:30, might work Monday nights. We usually meet the second and fourth Monday nights of the month. An hour and a half meeting before planning board. It might make for a long night though,
You also, you're here till 6 on Tuesdays?
No,
Oh, okay,
so I'm only here till 4.
okay.
So, but that's fine. I mean, you guys gotta do what's best for the group. I can zoom in potentially.
I guess, would that work for folks if it was on Mondays at
Mondays.
5?
Yeah, Mondays off. Yeah.
Well, our planning board meetings are typically on a Monday.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, try to
Right.
sync up with that. Cause that they're both
Does
really,
anybody have, I
Thinking,
guess
monthly or?
that's up to the committee. I mean, I think, maybe tentatively schedule a couple of meetings the first month and see how that feels, or maybe schedule one meeting the first month and see how that feels. And if you synced it up with the planning board, it would be twice a month.
Mhm.
So we've got some homework to do, and trying to get the department heads to come back to us. That's like going to be at least a 3 or 4 week cycle, isn't it, Eric?
Well, I mean, I know that Jess and Beth have actually been working on looking at the zoning bylaw, but for the other department heads, I mean, I would hope it would be less than 3 or 4 weeks, but it's certainly not going to be by next Monday.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe you talk, maybe the week of Halloween.
Planning board meets on the 30th.
I'm out
Monday
of
the 30th.
town,
Oh, that's right.
for a week.
Is it the second and fourth Tuesdays?
Mondays.
Second,
Yeah.
fourth Mondays.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they're meeting November 13th.
Yeah, I'm out of town from the 20.
Well, what about the 13th? Do you want to just say meet at the next planning board, the first planning board meeting in November on the 13th? That'll give us a month to reach out and do some and try to get some.
Unfortunately, I'm out of town. I guess there's only that time November 13th.
Yeah, Any time in November is fine with me.
So,
I don't-
the, the night before Halloween is not a good one for you, Robert?
Was that the 30th?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 30th of October.
Yeah, I could do the 30th.
Okay.
All right, well, maybe we try that. At the
Yep.
first blush, we try the 30th, and then hopefully I can get out to the department heads and tell them it's kind of a time-sensitive issue and
You wanna,
see what they say.
What time?
Sounds good, yeah.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, okay.
Sure, that'd be
All
great.
right.
yeah, 5 o'clock, yeah. All right, 5 o'clock on the 30th.
So that's not, Beth, that's not a planning board night though, right?
It is.
Oh, that's
And
the
so
4th?
Yeah, so that would be before planning board at 6:30. It does put a hard stop on it, but
Okay. All right, I think we can live with
Can
that.
we postpone that a week?
is an hour okay? Yeah.
At the
Mhm.
same time, though, it's fine.
Mhm.
That won't be a planning board night. And,
I think we're trying to put it on a planning board night for Beth's schedule,
oh,
because she's gonna be here late those nights already.
okay. All right.
And I mean, I think that the key would be you got an hour and a half. And if it doesn't feel like things are getting accomplished in an hour and a half, then
Yeah.
rethink at that date to see if maybe there's a different time that would work.
Yeah, we'll have to go to Plan B, whatever that might be.
And there's also a couple of people, I mean, Veronica, Alice, Greg, who are on this committee but couldn't make it today. So,
All right,
maybe I'd set that as a drop dead thing and see what they think when they get here on the 30th, hopefully.
all right, sounds good.
All righty.
All right,
Cool.
that's done.
All right.
Now, we would, when we did the bylaw, we would finish up sometimes at midnight.
It's the joy of rewriting a
I look
bylaw.
forward to it.
It's a long night, or it was a long night, but, you know, I was a lot younger then, so it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah. Well, at least it'll all be done one night.
All right, so I think that's everything that we intended to accomplish in the first meeting.
Okay. I make a motion, we adjourn.
A second.
Do we have to poll the members on an adjournment motion or what?
I think if you're on Zoom, you got to poll the members on everything.
Okay, so Michael,
Yes, let's adjourn.
Maureen,
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Beth,
Beth Paxton, yes.
Natalie Cole, yes.
Robert Theron, yes.
All right, thanks everybody for all your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
yeah, it
Harvey.
was
you.
great.